DNA Studios. Step into a new dimension.
Hello guys, welcome back to another DNA Studios episode. Yes, that's right, I'm back with some more cool stuff to talk about. This episode will be a little different. So again, last Wednesday I did not post. I apologize. I need some time to come up to give you guys a really good episode and some time to get some things together. I do, however, have some really cool stuff to talk about today. So today we're going to get into it, and yeah, it's going to be pretty kind of fun, but also kind of interesting. So anyway, like I said, today's episode is going to be a little different. So if you're new here, strap yourself in. It's going to be a little different today, and kind of a fun but kind of a cool episode. So yeah, stay tuned. So first things first, let me do my introductions, as I always do. If you're new here, or if you've never watched this channel, or you've never seen any of my previous videos, or seen any of the videos that myself and Dante have done, both myself, A. Goldman, or Aaron is my name. I'm your host, and also one of the founders and creators of DNA Anime Blog and DNA Anime Studios and DNA Studios Entertainment, and also a lot of the other stuff that we do. And also, some of you guys might know who have watched before, Dante Lewis, who is my best friend, is also one of the creators and founders for DNA Anime Blog. So it's the two of us together who make and do everything you see on this channel, as well as everything on the blog. And then we also do have a writer who I will shout out. Shout outs to Junko Guy is his handle on our Discord, who also writes and does some of our articles and stuff like that. So yeah, but myself and Dante are the main founders and creators of DNA Anime Blog and DNA Studios, this YouTube channel. So yeah, that's who we are, and that's what we do. So if you're new here, strap yourself in, because you're in for some fun. Anyway, so with that aside, today, like I said, today's episode is going to be different, because today we are talking specifically about some of you guys might be familiar with this, but the anime series, so anime series reboots, and also just second seasons and stuff like that, which, there's an exact title I have here. Hold on one second. So today I'm specifically talking about anime series sequels and reboots. So if you guys might know that, some of you guys might know that if you watch like Dragon Ball, or if you've watched like Rurouni Kenshin, or you've watched like any of the older anime, or like Sailor Moon, you guys will know that a lot of times, or like movie studios, or any kind of movies, or anything like The Little Mermaid, or anything like that, right? You'll know that with animation and with certain shows, it'll get like one season, and then it'll just disappear. You'll never see any more about it. It'll just kind of disappear into the breeze, like those, because there's so much anime out there that not everything gets a second season. And also because either it didn't go over well with the fans, or just didn't get enough popularity, didn't catch on, that not enough people really got into it, and it just didn't appeal to as large of an audience as they thought it would, or whatever the case may be. It just didn't do well. So you'll see a lot of shows don't get a second season. Maybe the story had a problem, or maybe it could be that, it could be just a piece of and no, that's usually not the case. Most shows are not a piece of a piece of shit, but most of the time the shows are pretty well thought out. The stories are pretty good, depending on what kind of series it is. But my point is that you just never see them again, or they don't get another season or another reboot. Or sometimes if they do get another reboot, it's completely different. So, for example, right, Eminence in Shadow just got a second season, and I am currently still watching it, so I can't say too much about it. I don't want to give away any spoilers. I will talk more about it in another episode. And so did Rurouni Kenshin. Now, Eminence in Shadow got a second season. Rurouni Kenshin and also Dragon Ball. Rurouni Kenshin got a sort of a reboot, but it's not quite a reboot. It's more like an updated version, which kind of feels like a reboot, because it is very similar to the original Rurouni Kenshin series, if you've ever seen the one from the 90s, but different in that the story is different, and also the villains and the kind of stuff that happens in the story are very different. So it's very interesting because it's an updated version, but still the same character, and still follows most of the same story points as as the original one. However, the villains and some of the other people that Kenshin and the characters interact with are different, and there are slight differences in characters as well. Now, don't quote me on this because I have not seen all of it yet. But from what we know so far and what I've seen so far, there are slight differences in characters and also the villains, the people who Kenshin bumps into along the way. Now, you do find out more about the backstory to Kenshin and stuff like that. And no, this is not a new series. This is more of just a reboot for a newer generation, kind of like what they do with Sailor Moon and stuff like that. They just retold the story and just updated the animation style, updated the artwork, and then also did like new villains and just like different villains and like different people for the main character to interact with, and like just a change in the story, a more updated story. Maybe it's more recent villains, or maybe they're fighting a different bad guy, or whatever the case might be, right? Newer tone and newer feel to the story. So that's what I kind of want to talk about. That's kind of what I'm going to be going over. Dragon Ball, the new Dragon Ball series, Dama, which is interesting, should be interesting. And now people have there's been all kinds of wild speculations about this. Nobody really knows what's going on. However, I do know that it's supposed to be between the time of Dragon Ball Z, at the end of Z, but before Super. So from what I've seen from the previews, it looks cool. But again, this could be it depends on how you look at it. It could be considered a more updated version of Dragon Ball, or it could be considered a reboot. I'm not actually 100% sure on this one. To me, it feels more like a reboot. To me, the original 90s Dragon Ball will always be like my favorite. But some people were like, well, they want a newer series, newer animation, newer art style, but also to bring in other things and make other things canon, which I can see. They're might bring in some elements from pieces from GT or whatever, or they could bring in some newer elements that Toriyama's come up with newer ideas and stuff. However, this could also cause a conflict within the Dragon Ball community, and also cause people to kind of could also kind of cause people to be confused with the timeline, and kind of confuse the timelines and kind of cross the timelines, and also mess up things with the continuity to Super, and the fact that everything takes place during certain periods. You're like, well, if this took place and this took place, how the heck is that supposed to happen? Or so there could be some people could get mixed up with that kind of stuff. So yeah, there could be a little bit of a power struggle in that one, and so also some within the fan base. So we'll see how that goes. But the good thing though is with some of this is that for anyone who is a newer fan, so if you were like Gen Z, or if you are just getting into anime these days, you are going to want to check out some of the shows I've mentioned, like Dragon Ball Z. If you've never watched Dragon Ball Z, go watch Z and Super, and go watch GT if you really want to. GT is kind of a side storyline and not really canon, but you can still watch GT if you like GT, or if you want to watch a alternate universe or a different version of Dragon Ball, or a continuation of Z. You can watch Super. But I usually recommend Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super, and then watch Battle of Gods and the movies too. They're pretty decent. So yeah, but you are going to want to check out, what you're going to want to do is, right now there are a lot of shows that have gotten a kind of a second season, or maybe they were doing another version of it. So for example, Rurouni Kenshin just got a new update, which I just started watching. Now, I have watched the original Rurouni Kenshin back in the 90s, but also watched Samurai X. A lot of people haven't watched Samurai X, or haven't seen the original 90s Rurouni Kenshin. This is kind of cool because the art style is really good, and you do find out more about Kenshin and more about the backstory to the whole Batosai, the Manslayer, which is awesome, right? But it's also kind of with a newer animation, and also different villains, and kind of the story is different in this newer kind of reboot or update, if you want to call it that, which is good and bad. My thoughts are, I like I miss the gritty 90s animation style, and I really like that kind of grittiness to it. and it just had a feel to it. Also, I missed Peter Cullen doing the promos for Toonami. Now, I hope that they air this new series and also the original back on Toonami at some point. So, Toonami, if you're out there and you're listening, Steve Bloom or anybody over at Toonami or Adult Swim, please try to get some like Eminence in Shadow or try to get Rurouni Kenshin, the newer series, back on Toonami. It would be awesome to see that. But if they do air this one, like this is really cool. And if you're someone who is maybe just getting into Rurouni Kenshin, you've never watched a good sword fight, an anime with a good sword fight or a good samurai anime, this is definitely one that that's going to catch your eye. The art style is still good in this new one, in the newer series, and it's still awesome. The sword fights are still insanely amazing. It's like two clangs of a sword, and it's like when someone gets chopped up, and like yeah, it's pretty cool. So that is still a really awesome part of this show. But a part of me as a 90s kid also misses the old gritty animation style, which is disappearing from shows. And that's what kind of got me started on the whole reboot and the whole sequels and stuff. And sometimes, depending on what it is, with movies, they tend to do sequels terribly. Any kind of movie sequel is not always great. However, there have been certain movies and certain shows that have done well with sequels. So it can swing both ways. You can have a good sequel. Now with anime, most of the time the second seasons or updates are pretty decent. There have been a few that haven't been they've been meh. But I mean, look. But in this case, some of the ones you're seeing now, so especially with Rurouni Kenshin, the story was already good. So they're just kind of expanding upon that same thing and just adding more to it. And in this case, this particular newer version of it is pretty awesome. It's still all your same characters, just newer story and kind of more updated animation style, which is cool. So yeah, this is definitely one I also recommend if you're looking for something to watch now. And like I said, it's kind of a newer 2023 kind of updated storyline. But the original villains and the original characters and original animation, there's something about that gritty animation style that is cool that you just don't see anymore. And I'm sad to see it disappearing from anime nowadays. You don't see as much of it. You might see a little bit in stuff, but not nearly as much as you used to in the 90s. Now, there also is one other show. There are a couple of shows I want to talk about that actually did get another season. Shield Hero actually did get a third season, which is interesting to see because Shield Hero's. So here's the thing. Shows like Shield Hero are how can I put it? Some people are gonna really get into this one because of the story and because of the journey and just the action and the cool powers and the cool stuff in the stories, the stuff that happens in the story. And some people are gonna hate it because of how kind of brutal some of the and kind of some of the mistreatment of the main character, which he gets himself into a lot of sticky situations, and there are some characters who you're probably not going to like in Shield Hero, which that's a very controversial opinion. Some people said the first season was hard to watch. Other people were like, I got through it, and they're kind of questioning whether they want to watch more of it. I like Shield Hero. Now, there are some of the characters that and some of the things that happen in it I disagree with, but that doesn't mean I don't like the story. The main character, it shows how he goes through hardships and overcomes stuff, which is pretty amazing. It's kind of like it gives you a tiny bit of that Dragon Ball feel, where like you can kind of get through it. You can fight through it. You can make it if you just keep trying and don't give up. It's a little bit of that, but not quite. And that is another show that got kind of a second season or a new season, not quite a reboot, just a new season. Which is always good to see, stuff like that where it's not like a large show like One Piece where it's gonna always be it's gonna go on forever, right? Or Naruto where it's gonna be drag out so long. But when you see smaller titles like that get second and third seasons, it's always awesome to see see that. And also, I think also Dr. Stone actually got another season, which I was surprised to see. And that also is pretty cool if you're looking for something where you're into science and you want to get excited. That's a good one to also watch, which is really interesting. So there's a lot out right now if you guys are looking for something to watch. That was those two. It's really interesting to see those get in the season. Hopefully people actually tune in and watch them. I'm excited to watch the next half of Shield Hero, and I'm also pretty excited to see where Dr. Stone goes. So yeah, Dr. Stone is. I will say Dr. Stone is more science-based anime, so it's not as fast as your action-based shows like Rurouni Kenshin or stuff like that. But there are some fights in Dr. Stone and some pretty interesting science stuff, and you learn a lot. So if you're looking for an anime where it's going to teach you something or you're going to have fun, you're going to both be entertained but also learn something, Dr. Stone is definitely a good one to watch if you're a science nerd. But yeah, so that got another season. And then the other thing that's really cool that I was not expecting actually to happen was the Misfit Demon King Academy got another season, which this anime is actually an action demon fantasy magic school series. There was actually the first season actually came out in 2020, and then now it just got another season, which is really cool. So this is really awesome that they did another season. This show is good from the. Actually, start off really, really good. And Anos is back again. Anos Voldigo. This one, I would say, for this particular show, I feel like this one is magic, but like, how can I describe it? It's like, it's magic, but not quite Alucard level, but close to it. And it's up there with Eminence and Shadow because of the fact that the main character is just a badass. And so are some of the other characters in the show, honestly. He's not the only badass in the show. There are a few badasses. If you took Eminence and Shadow and Mr. Demon Academy, and then also you took what's the other one? Overlord, right? This is kind of like it's magic, kind of like it's magic, but it's like in a school setting and Magic Academy. But there's demons, there's crazy, all kinds of crazy different realms, and there's demons and gods and all kinds of stuff in this, and angels, all kinds of stuff in here. And it's just it's like magic on steroids. It's crazy. But it's really a really awesome series. And also, if you're out there, Death Battle. You guys really need to do a death battle between Shadow and Voldigo. I really want to see I'd love to see who would win in a fight like that. They're both insane badasses that are like way too powerful. So yeah, shout outs to Death Battle. You guys seriously need to do a Voldigo versus Shadow. Anyway, so yeah, that's another one that I wasn't expecting that actually got a recent season. I will be talking about these two more in depth. I will, as more comes out and as I'm able to catch up more and watch more of the, more of each one, I will go into depth about the second season. I am waiting though until more of the show comes out, until I can kind of watch more of the story to kind of fill you guys in. So in this video, I won't go into a lot of depth, but I will kind of give you some of the so far what I think and kind of what's going on. But yeah, these are all shows that I wasn't expecting to see a second season, or I was hoping to see a second season, but wasn't sure of whether they get a second season. I actually did know that Eminence and Shadow was going to get another season. That was actually announced pretty early. But I did not know that Misfit Academy would get another season, or Misfit Demon Academy, or that Rurouni. Well, actually, I'd heard rumors that Rurouni Kenshin was going to get a potential new series, but didn't know much about it. That's actually, I'm really interested to see how that goes. Actually, we're watching like the first like 1 or 2 episodes, but have not actually. I don't actually. I'm not that far into it, so I can't say too much. Unfortunately, but yeah, so far so good. Kind of hoping to hear, hoping to see how they do with the characters, and I'm hoping Steve Bloom is in there, but I don't quite know yet. I know he was in the original one, back in the 90s version. So I'm hoping he's still a voice in this one. It would be pretty cool to hear Steve Bloom again in Rurouni Kenshin, at least in this new series. So yeah, but anyway, guys, so that's kind of what I wanted to kind of touch on, was the different shows and the different reboots. Now, not all of these are reboots. A lot of these are just updated versions of the originals, or if it's not an update, it's just a season 2. And you don't see too much of that with some of the lesser known titles. Now, we are starting to, because newer people are getting into anime, more people are watching anime, you are seeing more small shows get larger. So like Evanston Shadow is the smaller title, but it is growing. It's getting larger as more people watch it and more people know about it. I, for one, love Evanston Shadow. I'm a huge fan for Evanston Shadow. Shadow is pretty sick and really awesome. But I also am a pretty big fan of this Misfit Demon Academy, which is cool. Honest Voldigo is pretty sick. So yeah, but you're starting to see more people get into these and more updates for some of the classic titles like Rurouni Kenshin, but also for some newer stuff that is gaining popularity and it's getting larger and that is getting new seasons, which is good to see. And the new stuff that's coming out, some of the second seasons are really good, depending on what show you're watching. Now, Dragon Ball Dama, it can be debate. It's a hot debate right now as to whether or not what it's going to be like. We still don't know because there's not enough information out, and nobody has seen anything other than the trailers. So we're just gonna have to wait. I would love to see Dragon Ball Super get another season. I mean, the manga there's a ton of manga, but who knows? We'll see. I'm hoping that they will animate they'll do the animation for the Moro arc, and we'll get a whole other Moro arc for Dragon Ball Super, but it remains to be seen. But it is really cool to see older series like Rurouni Kenshin. Maybe, who knows? And also Trigon did get a new update, which that was really cool. I did watch that. That was a really. I actually have a video on that. If you want to watch that, go check out my video on Trigon. I have a video on this channel. You can go check it out, Trigon. Go watch that video. It's pretty awesome. And that was a really good new kind of updated version of Trigon. Now, like I said, I do miss the old gritty art style, which you do see disappearing now. I will say this, though. Not every anime has that gritty art style. Usually it's like Gundam, and you see it a lot with Cyborg 00. That's another show that needs to actually come back. Cyborg 009 was a sick anime back in the day. Sadly, my video on that didn't go too well. A lot of people just weren't interested in that one. But really, another really awesome anime that needs to come back. Or maybe they'll do an update or a reboot of it, which would be cool to see. Shout outs to Joshua Seth, who's in Cyborg 009. He is awesome and does a really great job playing the main character, and who's also back doing anime again, Joshua Seth. So shout out to you, Joshua Seth, and a bunch of the other voice actors out there who are still recording and working on newer stuff for newer anime. That's cool to see some of the 90s actors coming back to do new stuff again. So yeah. But yeah, anyway, back to what I was saying about it's neat to see shows like Rurouni Kenshin get a kind of a newer update and also more to the story. So if you were a fan of samurai anime, or if you are currently following any of these titles I mentioned, whether it's Misfit Demon Academy, Rurouni Kenshin, or if you're following Emerson Shadow, or maybe you are following Shield Hero, or Spy Family just also got another season 2. Season 2 for Spy Family. So if you've been watching, that's a really good one actually too. If you're watching Spy Family, that just got another season, which is awesome to see. I have not gotten a chance to check that out yet. I've watched the other season 1 and also a couple of other. I watched everything. I've watched everything up to all of season 1, and then everything else, but I have not watched season 2 yet. So yeah, Spy Family season 2 should be pretty awesome. So yeah, if you're watching any of those, or if you guys were wondering about upcoming titles, or maybe you're looking for something to watch, check out some of these. Now, there are other shows too that I've gotten that I probably didn't mention that have gotten season 2 or that have gotten an update or reboot. Oh, Dead Mountain Death Play I did a whole video on this one too, about the first season and stuff. That is so sick. If you're not watching either Eminence in Shadow, Dead Mountain Death Play, or Rurouni Kenshin, you need to watch those. Dead Mountain Death Play is pretty sick in the fact that, yes, this is another reincarnation series. And yeah, the main character does get reincarnated. But the way that well, let's put it this way. The main character, he gets reincarnated, but he also kind of, how can I put it? He's not in his body, let's put it that way. And who you think might be the main character, actually there's kind of two main characters in this one. And so the Death God, as they call him, is pretty sick and a pretty cool character, as well as just the story in this one it's dark, but it is pretty cool. Polka, the main character who dies, and gets a second shot at life. He dies, and then the Death God from another world reincarnates, takes Polka's body, and Polka gets put in this little shark thing, which is kind of cool. It almost reminds me of Bleach, because of the fact that Polka is in this little shark thing, kind of like what you see in Bleach, where they have a substitute for Ichi, who stays in Ichigo's body in season 1 of Bleach. And so it's kind of like that, where Polka is is the original, he's the original owner of his body, but is not currently in his body, because the Death God is currently occupying it and using it. So it's pretty interesting, and this Death God is pretty crazy. He's pretty crazy, but also pretty awesome. He's a badass, and apparently, not only can he reincarnate, but he can also make zombies and do all kinds of other crazy stuff, vampires and all kinds of cool stuff. So if you guys are not watching one of these titles, or these season 2s, or if you're watching maybe you're watching maybe it's a reboot for Rurouni Kenshin, go check these out. These are all really awesome titles you can watch right now. Anyway, guys, with that, I will see you guys in the next video. Go check out some of the series and shows that I've been talking about and that I've mentioned. Definitely watch Dead Mountain Death Play or Eminence in Shadow or Rurouni Kenshin or any of those titles. And we will see you guys in the next one. Whoops. See you guys in the next one. Peace. Granted. Farewell.
Hi there. Please subscribe or follow DNA Anime Blog and DNA Studios on all of their social media platforms. Okay, bye!